All right, let's continue with the story now. The driver of the truck that was involved in a horror crash on the N2 near Pongolo is expected to appear in the local magistrate's court in northern KwaZulu-Natal today. 19 school children and 2 adults died in Friday's crash involving a truck and a bakkie. The children were being taken home in the bakkie after school. At the weekend, protesting residents prevented truck drivers from using the N2 in the area. Now let's discuss this. We're now joined via Zoom by the Department of Transport and Community Safety spokesperson in KwaZulu-Natal, Kwanele, Ncalane. Thank you so much, Kwanele, for your time this afternoon. Now, let's get the very latest. The truck driver has been remanded in custody after handing himself over. What do we know about him and, in particular, his company?
Well, good evening and good afternoon to you and the viewers at home. Yes, we can confirm that the truck driver did appear in the Pongolo Magistrate Court today. However, his case is remanded for the bail application. As part of the investigation, police have managed to retrieve all the details of the company. However, we are currently in Pongolo with all the leadership of government in the province. And among us here today is the CEO of RTMC, Road Traffic Management Corporation, and part of why they are here is to make sure that the forensic investigation is instituted into the accident and make sure that once they receive the outcomes of that investigation, it forms part of the docket. Our view as the provincial government is that should it be found that there's some defects in the truck, the owner of the company as well need to take responsibility. But as it stands now, we are quite comfortable that the truck driver is in custody. We are also comfortable that he's going to be appearing again in court. We are advocating for him not to get bail because our view is that he's behind the reasons for the reason for this accident, and also his negligence and attitude is the one that caused this fatal crash. Therefore, we believe that punitive action need to be taken, and we need our justice system to send a very strong message to all those who disregard traffic regulations. Therefore, this is an opportunity to set an example and to send a lesson to all those who are violating traffic laws.
Do you think that's enough? Do you think that is setting the example? And the reason I'm saying that is I'm curious to know, will the department also make sure that not only the truck driver here is held liable, but also the owners? I mean, we've seen so many truck drivers being remanded in custody, ultimately being arrested and, and convicted. But these accidents don't seem to go away, particularly because there are concerns, and there have been concerns from residents of Pongolo having been trying to get the Department of Transport, some even going as far as getting the minister's attention about the dangers, the N2 particularly possesses, especially because of trucks.
Well, like I've said, the acting Premier of KwaZulu-Natal, Ms. Ncalane, the MEC for Transport, MEC Sipho, and the leadership of government at various levels, they are here in Pongolo. Part of why they are here is also to engage on the very same concerns that are being raised by our communities. Remember, we also need to address the issue of spatial planning because, as it were, the road is built prior to the town settling in those areas. So it means once you build the road, you then attract investment, you then attract easy mobility. And that is why we find ourselves in a situation where you've got highways and roads that are passing through small towns. It is quite a cause for concern, but part of the work that we are doing today as we're here is that Central is going to be conducting an engineering inspection. Part of the interventions is to make sure that there is an arrestor bed where trucks will be forced to stop, and there will be also the maximum deployment of police to make sure that trucks are monitored as they move along the town of Pongolo and any other small town in the province. But it is quite a serious concern, and as a result, we will also be engaging with the leadership of the freight industry so that together with them, we are able to find solutions. One, to address the issue of the behavior of their drivers. Number two, to address the condition of their trucks. But thirdly, to also deal with the issue of road safety in general, to say how can we best work together to make sure that we don't see the repeat of such fatal accidents in future.
Have you in any way, had discussions with the Department of Education, because, there's also concern and questions of scholar transport. And of course, this particular accident has again highlighted, the need for safer transportation for school-going children, especially if you look at how young these learners were.
Yes, the HOD for Education is here today, is among the delegation of government that is here. In fact, we have visited all the 5 schools that were affected this morning, and we have also directed the Department of Education to conduct an assessment. Remember, the issue of learner transport, it's a joint function by the Department of Education and the Department of Transport. Education conducts what we call a need assessment, and the Department of Transport provides the actual transport. So what we are witnessing here in these communities, you'll find that there is a need for learner transport, and the Department of Education is dealing with that. There are other schools where there is learner transport. However, due to the demand, you'll find that already those buses are overloaded. But in some instances, you'll find that learners are preferring certain schools because of the quality of education, the outcome and result. For instance, the school where 10 learners died, Victoria Independent School, it's a bit far from where the communities are, but there are schools in the local area. However, parents prefer to take their kids to that school because they argue that there's much better education, there is improvement in terms of the outcomes and the results. So these are the challenges that we have to grapple with, working with communities, but we also urge parents themselves to make sure that where there is no sufficient learner transport provision, they themselves assist us and work together with us as government in making sure that the transport that is used to transport their kids, it's a transport that is roadway, is a transport that is certified to transport communities, commuters. In fact, we are engaging with Santaco. They are here today to say, how do we improve the learner transportation in these areas where we don't have a permanent scholar transport that is commissioned by government?
And of course, you earlier said, and I just want you to correct that number, you earlier said that the KZN government has visited 5 schools. Is it 5 or 4 schools that have been affected?
Well, it's 4 where learners died. The 5th one is where the assistant teacher, who was the occupant in the bakkie during the crash, died. And also, we wish to correct the statement because after the verification that was done at the mortuary today, together with the police and the Department of Health, we have all confirmed that the death toll is 20 and not 21 as reported previously. There was a miscount because bodies were dilapidated, and or the paramedics and the police deal with that. But the actual number that is confirmed is 20.
And you say you've visited the schools. Have you in any event visited the families? And I can only imagine the devastation during this time. Have they been afforded that right to then go and identify their loved ones, or is it too soon?
Well, as I'm speaking to you right now, where we are in the area of Godwayo, which is outside Pongolo on the N2, where the acting premier and MEC Shomuga are currently meeting with the bereaved families. They are all here. We are comforting them and expressing our condolences as government, but also to map up the processes of intervention. The National Department of Transport has also sent down the Management of Road Accident Fund and RTMC, as I've mentioned, and SANRAL. So we are all working together to see how are we going to assist these families. The Department of Social Development is also offering some psycho social services and also some immediate food relief programs which are assisting the families during this time. But we will also, as government, be assisting during the burial preparations. We will be guided by the families if they opt to have a joint memorial service or a mass funeral. But the devastation is quite huge. When we were visiting these schools, you could see that some of them are lower primary with a very minor kids that are attending to those schools. So it is quite a serious issue, and there's still a sense of panic in the community where you find that parents are even now opting to walk their kids to school instead of taking taxis or taking any mode of public transport. So it's going to take time. That is why we are here. That is why government is working with the community of Pongolo, and we want to make sure that as a current government, we are with our people through and through, making sure that we assist them to heal and get through this very painful phase.
Kwanele, thank you so much for your time. And just for clarification, you have revised your statement from 21 people deceased to 20. And is it correct to say that 17 of those are learners?
Yes, we are indeed revising those figures. Like I say, after we have verified with the Department of Health and the investigating officer corrected the figures, it's actually 18 learners and 2 adults. So it's 20. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for your time, Kwanele Ncalane then. He is from the Department of Transport and Community Safety in KwaZulu-Natal.